First, I'd just like to thank you all for being here tonight to listen to something I'm really passionate about. For my capstone, I chose to try and make mountain biking a lettering sport for CCHS. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Nathania Smith. I'm a senior here at CCHS. I'm a Christian, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a leader, and an athlete. I love to be involved, and I feel like CCHS is a great school for that. I feel like we have something for everyone, and part of Capstone is if you feel as though there's something that's missing, we have a great admin team that you can come to and be like, hey, we don't have this at our school, and I would love to see it, and they're willing to work with you. And so in school, I'm a part of Link Crew, which is a freshman transition group, as well as I like to serve in the community, whether it be with my church or through FAR, building and cleaning up trails. I just love to be involved. My driving question was, how can I make mountain biking a lettering sport for CCHS mountain bikers and athletes? We currently have a club team here at the high school, but we're not a recognized lettering sport, so we can't letter in our sport. And so that was really just the goal of my capstone. And I remember it being like this huge thing, like how am I gonna do this? This is a massive obstacle to tackle, but through doing so, I learned that I was capable of doing so. So here at the high school, we have 7 traits, one of which being knowledge. Knowledge is acquiring understanding through experience or learning. For my knowledge ELA, I had to write a pre-search paper using MLA format. MLA is something that you use throughout the rest of your life, so it's a good skill to have. And then additional ELA courses, I also took yearbook, which helped with interviewing people, and then I used that in turn in my project. I had to interview lots of people for my project. Knowledge ELA as well. I did a presentation to the admin team about why I believed that mountain biking deserved to be a lettering sport. And so that took some big communication skills. These are big, respected adults, and I'm just little me. And I'm like, hey, I'm super passionate about this. What are your thoughts? What do you have to say? How do we make this happen? So it definitely helped with some communication skills. And then lettering requirements, which is actually the paper that I handed out earlier. We had to come up with some lettering requirements for kids if this does happen. What does it look like to actually letter in mountain biking? We had to do 3 math traits. My first was math principle number 1, make sense of all types of problems to persevere in solving them. There's lots of problems when you're trying to make a sport a lettering sport because it's not something that happens all the time. Mountain biking is not CHASA sanctioned, which makes people a little apprehensive to make it a lettering sport, but we are sanctioned through something else, so that's that solution. And then approving a new sport takes knowledge and research. This wasn't something that I just went out and said, hey, I like to mountain bike, let's make it a lettering sport. I had to do lots of research. I had to course marshal, which is where you help kids out on a race, and you say, this is where you go, don't get lost. I had to take pictures of the finish line. I got to see parents cheering on kids that they didn't even know, which is something super awesome about mountain biking. It's such a welcoming community, and everyone is always cheering everyone on, which is super cool to see, and that helped me to support it. And then also, I raced myself. In mountain biking, you do 2 6-mile laps. I remember on the second lap thinking that they were gonna have to pull me off that trail. They were gonna have to drag me out of there because I didn't know how I was gonna finish. But I ended up finishing, and that was incredible. It was so relieving to be like, wow, I just did that. And I want to make that something for other kids to do. That's part of why I'm so passionate about my project. And then explaining why mountain biking should be a lettering sport to the admin team. I had to talk to lots of people. I actually talked to the head of the mountain biking league. She's a super important lady, and she was telling me how inspired she was by me. That was incredible. Sure. So we had to talk to Golden High School, which is another high school that's actually made mountain biking a lettering sport. I talked to them about how did you overcome problems? Because we faced a lot of the same problems that they faced. So we were able to find structure in that. So I was able to look at how they overcame problems and then do so at our school to overcome those problems. And that's kind of what the second point is too, just looking at how, because it wasn't just Golden High School, we looked at a bunch of other schools too that have made it a lettering sport to find structure so that we could implement that into our school. Math knowledge principle number 8 looks for and expresses regularity and repeated reasoning. Again, I sound like a broken record, but really just looking at what other schools faced and what kind of problems they faced so that we could kind of put that into what we did as well. One really big concern with mountain biking is head and brain injury. This is a scary thing because outside looking in, you may think that it's really bad. But with that, we're super big on helmets, and this isn't just us, this is the entire league. If you even have one leg over your mountain bike, that helmet has to be on and clipped. I just have a little bit of a statistic up here. There's been tons of studies done on this, that the helmets on when you're mountain biking makes a huge difference for safety. The trait that I'd like to talk about is tenacity, persisting without exception. So to really understand the sport and in order to fully support it, I had to do some really hard things and be tenacious in doing so. Like I said, that race was really hard, and finishing that race was not easy, but being tenacious enough to do so that I could fully support this, that I could fully say that I think this deserves to be a lettering sport. And then speaking with highly respected adults, again, just people that were big adults and I'm just little me. So how do I tell them that this is what I'm passionate about? But it really was incredible to do so. And then getting multiple views of races, again, just being tenacious enough to go out there, be a go-getter, and do things that were really out of my comfort zone. In conclusion, my call to action was my passion for mountain biking, and then leaving a legacy for the sport. I graduate this year, so I won't be back to experience lettering in the sport, but I want it for other student athletes. I want kids to come up after me and not have to fight for this, but for it to be there and available for them to letter, because I think that would be incredible. Things are looking good. It's in the process of being approved, but we don't have the actual letter of recognition yet so that kids can actually letter in the sport. But the overall reactions of the admin team were really good, so that's a really positive thing. I learned a lot about myself, and I gained a lot of new skills, again with those communication skills and talking to really important people. Aspirations, so I would love to see that document of recognition to say, hey, this is a lettering sport, and kids are going to be able to letter in this sport. I would love to see lettering opportunities for next year's fall season racers so that those kids would be able to letter when they race. And then I plan on continuing to ride, but if I had the chance to race again, I don't believe that I would. It just wasn't quite my thing. But I want it to be something there for other kids, that you try it and maybe like me you didn't love racing, but you still can ride with our club team. You can still be out there, enjoy nature, be on your bike, and just love the sport. You just don't have to race.
Yeah, how did you apply the trait of agility to your project?
Agility, learning from experience and adapting to new situations. Being flexible to work with golden coaches. It was kind of hard to meet with them because they're busy people. We talked to the principal and some of those coaches, so being able to meet with them all at once, we had to be super agile about that because they do have busy schedules, so how do I fit into that schedule? And then taking it one step at a time and not rushing important things. So again, getting that experience and being agile out on the course, whether it was racing or being at the finish line, just being patient with things so that I could fully understand everything.
About how many did you, within the project, try to figure out how many students would maybe benefit from this pursuit?
Okay, so we have a club team, like I said, and we had some racers that went out and raced this year, and those would be our kids that would be looking at lettering. We had a racing team of about 6 or 7, I believe, and then we have about like 14-ish kids on the actual club team who aren't all racing, but they're just out there to be out there.
What is in your future after high school, and how will this process and all that you've learned from this benefit you?
In the future, I plan to attend college. I'd like to go to a 4-year. I'd like to study psychology, do something with kids. And I think that mountain biking is a skill that you get to take with you. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can be out there and on your bike, and I love that about the sport. So I don't plan on racing in college, but if there isn't a club team at the college that I end up at, you best believe that I'll be trying my best to get there one because I love that sport and I want to provide that for other people.
Nice job.